Get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard that one before. I only heard the Ironsides one, and then all of a sudden it just shocked me into action. David Whiting is our resident talkback lawyer. Thanks very much for coming in.
Waleed, it was Perry Mason.
Sorry, Perry Mason. Sorry.
Perry Mason and Virginia decided that no.
That was enough.
No.
Do you know what? I think I've made that exact mistake about Perry Mason Ironsides before, and you've corrected me in exactly that way before.
All right.
But it was a long time ago, and I've just we were talking off air. I've just found out that you've been coming in doing this. You've been at the ABC basically longer than anybody else has been at the ABC.
Quite possibly, but half an hour a week doesn't really count on that on the scope.
Clearly not, because you don't even have a pass. You still have to get a visitor.
But all temporaries gets passes. That's just
No, but surely after 30 years,
even if you were doing 3 months, they'd still Anyway, that's the way it is.
Fair enough.
The system works very well.
It does.
And how could I talk to Trish otherwise? Yep.
Yeah, that is true. And Trish is lovely. Hello, Trish, if you're listening. In all the time you've done this segment, at least when we've done it, you've always had homework. And today you've just got no homework.
No, I think I had
So there was
week
nothing that came up last week that you didn't, just off the top of your head?
No,
not
at all.
Maybe after 30 years you've just covered it all.
Oh, no. There's still, the world is changing constantly.
That is true, especially the law. While we're doing housekeeping, and sorry, David, this does not concern you, but, well, unless you want to enter, keep listening for your chance, dear listener, to win tickets to Chaka Khan. That'd be good fun. I will give you today's code word soon, so you have to be listening in for that. Also got a text saying, has Virginia decided to leave a week early? No. Apologies that I'm here. Waleed Ali is my name. Virginia is sick. It's terrible timing, I admit. She would admit. We're hoping that she'll be back tomorrow. David is not sick and he's ready to take calls, so get in. 1300 222 774. This is the most competitive talkback segment in the world, I reckon. 1300 222 774. Where do we start? Jill has called in Shepparton. Hi, Jill.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, what would you like to ask?
We're helping an elderly relative at the moment organise some documents that she needs for DVA. And in doing so, we discovered that all of her very important documents have gone missing, the title deed in particular to her home. And I just don't know how we go about replacing it. What should we do?
When did she move into the house, Jill?
Almost 2 years ago.
Okay, then I would go back to the lawyer or conveyancer who acted for her at the time of purchase. 2 years ago, we'd moved to an electronic title system, right. So it's quite possible that she never received a physical title. You can get them, but the Land Registry's preference, the state government's preference, is that titles remain electronic. So you can go back to that lawyer or conveyancer and they will tell you what happened to the title. If the title is in fact lost, it's a fairly straightforward exercise in getting it replaced.
So she believes she actually had it, and because all of the documents that she had have gone, she believes that they have been uplifted from the house.
I would still start at the same process. If you're going to you can make an application to the Registrar of Titles for a replacement title. It essentially requires a statutory declaration from your friend. It requires a statutory declaration from the lawyer or conveyancer who acted on the purchase, explaining what they did with the title, and it requires a current rate notice. But you're going to need to go back to the person who acted when she bought 2 years ago, and they will tell you whether they got a physical title and gave it to her or they still retain it electronically and just gave her a copy.
Okay, thank you very much. The other thing with it is there anything, if say somebody has got it, are they able to do anything?
It is possible to lodge, make the phone call first, but it is possible to lodge a caveat on your own title to prevent inadvertent dealings with it.
Okay. Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Just got a text message. Landdata.vic.gov.au. You can get any title within 5 minutes for any property for only $30. Does that seem right?
You get a copy of the title. You can do a title search.
You're right.
So it's very simple to get a title search.
Right. So I guess it depends what you need is the original.
Well, at the end, when you do what's called, if you do a title search, you now get a document called the Register Search Statement. And down the bottom, if it says ECT, Electronic Certificate of Title, it will tell you who controls it. So, and if it doesn't say that, it will you get to the point where, well, the title was converted to a physical title, but you still need to say who got it last, who converted it to a physical title, and what happened.
But is the copy you would get at that website sufficient for most dealings?
It's sufficient for... No, you ultimately will need either control of the electronic title or the physical title for a dealing.
Right.
But in terms of knowledge, and I would have thought the phone call to the solicitor or conveyancer is not going to cost you any money at all.
Depends what they charge.
For the phone call, what did you do with my title when I settled the purchase 2 months ago?
There's a 6-minute unit. There it is. 6 minutes.
All right.
I was going to ask you your charge out rate, but I won't do that. It's not polite to do it on air. Amelia's called in from Ringwood. Hi, Amelia.
Hello, Waleed. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi. Far away, Amelia.
All right. So I'm the chair of an owners corporation. We're only 6 units. We're reasonably small. Our largest expenses are strata insurance and also the management fee. And when we looked into it at the last AGM, 20% of our premium is paid as commission to the strata manager on top of the management fee, and it's more than $1,000.
Yes.
So we talked about perhaps seeing if we can source our own insurance through a broker and appropriate insurance. And the strata manager at the AGM told us that if we did that, we'd still be required to pay them the 20% commission and they wouldn't handle any claims.
Wow. Okay.
I know.
Let's split the question into two. You're obliged to pay the commission because of the agreement you have with the strata manager.
That's
So
correct.
there is a standard form contract that most strata managers use. It's possible for you to negotiate outside that.
Yes, we've talked about negotiating, but that in the contract at the moment, it's only 15 to 20%. So they've obviously gone to the upper level. They've
Yes.
also added another special condition now, because we're discussing this, which says that if we go elsewhere to another insurer, we are required to pay them 20% of the base premium.
When does your agreement with your strata manager come to an end?
Well, it comes to an end in November, so obviously
Then
I'm
that's
looking
part of the
to-
negotiation.
Yes.
Yes, you can have the job if. Yes.
Yep. So, but what about the idea that even if we sourced our own insurer, suitably appropriate insurer, that they won't...
while the agreement's in place, you're probably obliged to pay the commission. And presumably if there is a claim on the insurance, you would want them to manage it.
Yes, and so the strata communities says that there's a fee for service option, but this particular strata manager has not mentioned it and isn't offering it.
Then the answer might be you might change your strata manager.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. Okay.
You sound
I
disappointed.
don't know any more about it, Amelia, than what you've told us in the last couple of minutes.
Yes.
So really, it's what's my negotiation?
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Thank
Right.
you, Amelia.
Okay.
I got a text asking for the website that I mentioned again, where you can get the title copy. landdata.vic.gov.au. I'll just read that again. landdata.vic.gov.au.
Yes.
Hope that's helpful. Fiona is in Bayside. Hi, Fiona.
Good morning. I recently purchased a house. It's a terrace, and it's kind of third in the row of four, third from the left to right. And behind terrace numbers 2, 3 and 4, there's a tiny walkway that was obviously used for the night cartman.
Yes.
Property number 1 has consumed that piece of laneway. I'm wondering...
So is
how
it
I can do
entirely
that.
the area behind your unit is landlocked, is it?
Yeah.
Why would you not? You need you need to find out who owns it. It's probably council.
Yeah.
And if it's council, you have no right of adverse possession in respect of it. But why would you not? So there's the formal and the informal approach. The informal approach won't get you ownership, but it seems to me that the person at number 2 and the person at number 4 would be quite happy if you simply sliced your bit off and occupied it, but you'll never get ownership that way.
I'm just wondering if the person at number one seems to spend a lot of time in that area.
They'll never get adverse possession if it's owned by council, because you can no longer bring an adverse possession application against council.
Okay,
but you might go
I'm
to council.
just wondering if the person at number one has any complaint if I take over that little slice.
Are they
of
coming
land.
down and using your bit, or just the bit behind their property?
That they've built out to the complete back wall at the far end of the laneway in their own property, but they have a gate that faces into the laneway.
Fiona, I would be doing a title search of the people at number one, because it's possible that they've occupied it and now own title to it as a result of something they did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And what you might then do is approach council about buying it.
Okay.
Or buying part of it. That's a process.
Do they have any what am I saying? Do they if they complain because they want access to that laneway space?
They may be. I don't know the lane. It's possible they have some rights over the lane. Normally, the titles to the property that you're in will give you a right of way across the whole of the laneway. So you really need to see what rights the person at number one has, and then see who owns the lane behind your property.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
No, thank you, Fiona. It's 17 minutes past 10. Waleed Ali's my name, filling in for Virginia Trioli, who is ill. We're hoping she'll be back tomorrow. David Whiting is the other voice that you're hearing, our talkback law talking guy and hero who's a veteran. I should point out, David, by the way, you've been extended. So Raph Epstein, of course, takes over this gig from next week.
Yep.
That's a big moment for the regulars on the show, because will they be retained? Will they not?
Well, it's interesting. I got Virginia told me that she was about to resign, and I said, well, you know what, as you do, well, best of luck, or wish you all well.
Yep.
I got back to the office and thought, what does that mean for me on a Tuesday morning? And the answer was when on the Friday when she announced that Raph was taking over, Raph sent me a text message. So,
there you go.
You know, would you please come Tuesdays? So,
of course he did.
Yes.
Of course he did. So if you don't get through today, you can ask your question next week, assuming it's not time sensitive. 1300 222 774. Kim has called in from Ballarat, is the next cab off the rank. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Waleed and David. I've just got a quick question. I have an adult son that was riding an e-scooter down the footpath where he shouldn't have been.
Yes.
A car has come out of a service station and hit him directly on the front of her car, and it's put a scratch on her car.
Yes.
They're saying that he is liable for the costs. I'm just wondering if that's right, considering if he was walking, it would be her fault.
Well, I suppose my argument would be there'd be some apportionment. I would have thought the vast amount of the claim would be the responsibility of the driver of the other vehicle for failing to keep a proper lookout. I mean, you don't expect, well, I'm not sure you shouldn't, you don't expect people in scooters driving on footpaths because they do a lot.
Correct.
But I probably 80-20, some apportionment. Some of it would be your son's responsibility.
80-20 which way?
I would have put the son at 20.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So see if you can negotiate. But I did hear a story last night, Waleed, that they've now banned electric scooters in Paris.
Have they?
You can still have an electric bicycle, but no scooters.
Oh.
So anyway, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I like that you're just staying across Parisian law for us, David. Is there anything else you'd like to drop in?
Yeah, there's I was reading, there's a glorious website called loweringthebar.net, and they had a report that talked about judgments against delinquent people following a university football game.
Right.
And they looked at 6 years of results, and they came to the conclusion that penalties imposed by judges who had gone to the university with an unexpected loss tended to be harsher on defendants than not.
These are like those studies that judges have harsher sentences before lunch than after.
Yes, that
those
kind
sort
of
of
stuff.
things.
Yes.
That's fascinating. You should do a special 1 week on that sort of thing. That could be fun.
Right.
Tony's called in from Baldwin. Hi, Tony.
Hey, well, hey, David. Good morning. I've got a question for my father. He's 94 years old.
Yes.
3 months ago, he moved into permanent care in a nursing home.
Yes.
His home of many years is now unoccupied.
Yeah.
If he sells it now, there's no tax to be paid on sale. But what happens if he's in the nursing home for many years and he keeps the home and then he finally sells it?
That's a homework question. You can maintain a property as your principal residence without living there for up to 6 years.
Okay.
So, let's say someone took an assignment in Singapore for 3 years. You can maintain your home as your principal residence in Australia while you're there. So the next 6 years, let's not worry about for tax purposes. I want to maintain the principal place of residence exemption from a capital gains perspective. Yep. So next 6 years you're covered. After that, can I let you know next week? I tend to think you'll be fine because the argument would be that it's not a permanent move. It's going to be a very long-term move. But if your father got better, he would move home.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's not on the cards, really.
No. I shall let you know next week, Tony.
David,
Waleed will be pleased I've got homework.
I'm glad to hear homework. Well done, Tony. You gave him homework. Just on that, I feel it's the kind of thing I should know, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Once you go past the 6 years, say you go 7 years.
Yes.
Does the exemption disappear from year one?
Yes, no, it wouldn't. It
So
would,
it's
it
not
would,
retrospective?
It would be from year six, from the end of year 6.
Right, so it's deemed that you were in that house up until 6 years after you left?
Yes.
Right.
Provided you don't claim another property as your principal residence
In the meantime.
that period,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. John's called in from Anglesey. John, hello.
Hello, Waleed and David. I have a problem with, I engaged a glazier to put a glass floor panel in a mezzanine level.
Wow. Sounds flash.
It allows the light to come down through the top level.
Yes.
And I engaged him on November last year, paid for it in full in February because that was the conditions he imposed upon me. But now he hasn't delivered, and now I cannot contact him. He doesn't answer the phone, doesn't respond to text or emails. Now I'm just wondering, how do I go about getting my glass floor panel or my money back?
Well, it's an application to VCAT, but the catch that I've got with it, John, is that has he got a registered business name, an ABN, any of those things?
He has an ABN. I've looked up the ASIC website and I know where he lives, I think.
Well, then why would you just not assume that that's where he lives and issue a VCAT application addressed to him at that address?
Okay, yeah.
Now, the problem, Waleed, is that if ASIC runs two registers, multiple registers, but for company searches, the name and address of each director of a company is on the database. But for business name searches, they only show you the name of the owner. And if the owner is an individual, they don't show the address.
Oh.
So, how do I find a tradie or
Yeah.
a person who's using a business name? Let's not be unfair to tradies. I want to commence an action against a person who operates under a business name, but I don't know where they are anymore.
Right.
The answer was system doesn't provide a solution.
There's simply no way.
Well, you've got to go and find them other than there is no register that says it's this person operating this business with an address for the person who owns the business name.
So we're talking private investigators or something?
Yes, but it's a privacy lunacy, so I can do I can search the name of the director of a company, unless of course the company is on the ACNC register, the Charities and Not-for-Profits, because that too doesn't provide addresses for directors of not-for-profits. So it's a sort of a mixed privacy issue. If it's a company, I'll give it to you. If it's not a company, go away.
So company directors don't have privacy, business owners do?
Yes. Unless the business owner is a company, in which case you search the company.
Wow.
I'm not being helpful.
All the best with that, John.
So, David, this chap's name is on the ASIC register and his address is there.
Good, and that's the one you go with.
Do I assume that that's that's him and
Yes.
it's a current address?
Yes, you do.
And then make the VCAT application
I would.
to him.
All right. All the best with it, John. Paul is called in from Elsternwick. Hello, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, David and Waleed, and best wishes to Virginia for a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
David, I recently sold my house through a prominent Brighton estate agent.
Yes.
And I paid for photographs and other advertising material for the promotion of the property.
Yes.
The new owners then put the house on the market for rental through another Brighton estate agent,
Yes.
advertising the property using my photographs that I'd paid for with the original sale through the first agent.
Paul, have a look at this. Two parts of the question. I think that it's an interesting question. I don't know who owns the photos. Certainly on the standard listing authority, you give the agent the right to use the photos, and you probably also give those same rights to realestate.com.au or domain.com.au, whoever the website is that's used for listing. I think it's unfair. So
I think it's appalling.
Yes. But that doesn't mean that the authorisation's gone to the other estate agent to use the photos.
No.
No.
I did approach the agent number 2 and asked them for some sort of recompense. They responded that they had taken the material off the web. Immediately I raised the issue, and therefore they didn't feel any damages had been incurred.
In which case your damages would only be for the period for which they were exhibited, which wouldn't have been long.
No, agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Assuming damages at all because of the question of ownership.
Yes.
Yes.
Tricky.
Comes down to a contractual issue, right?
It does.
It's basically what you're handing over at the time.
Yes, there's a whole lot of provisions in the Standard Agents Authority where I'm acting on a sale I remove, but, you know.
We got dangerously close to homework there, though.
No, yeah, absolutely. Forget about it.
No?
Ollie, just forget
No
about
homework?
it. Yeah.
You've got one little bit of homework.
I will look at that as well.
I'm looking forward to this.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming in. That's it for this week, I'm afraid. We could keep going forever. That is the nature of this segment. Thank you for your calls, all of them, and for the ones next week when Raphael Epstein will be in the chair and David Whiting will be opposite him, assuming it all is well with their health.